Good morning, colleagues, and welcome to the first ECA Higher Education Learning and Teaching Forum for 2023. I begin today by acknowledging the traditional custodians of all the different lands on which we meet today and pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging. Thank you all for finding time in your busy schedules to join in today to learn and talk about this fascinating red-hot topic of artificial intelligence in the disciplines and in learning and teaching. And I know many of us have been keeping up to date with developments in regards to AI in learning and teaching in higher education. And I don't know about you, but I've been reading lots of articles, blogs, attending webinars. But the one area that I probably don't know as much about is the impact of AI in some of our disciplines across ECA higher education and what it means for our students who will soon graduate and enter this new world of work. So that's the focus of today's forum. And we have our colleagues, Uday, Viral, Rakesh, Mohammed, and John presenting to us today the ways in which AI is being used in their respective industries of IT, business, project management, healthcare, and education. And so they're going to talk about if or how AI affects employment in their industry, what kind of skills our students will need. I'll provide an update from our ECA Higher Education Artificial Intelligence Working Group on our approach to using AI in learning and teaching at ECA Higher Education and the plan for the next few months ahead. So before all of that, I'm going to hand over to our Dean of ECA Higher Education, Professor Ian Rouse, to give a few comments about this new situation we find ourselves in with regards to the world of work and higher education and our graduates. So over to you, Ian.
Got a very brief presentation about artificial intelligence and its impact on the disciplines and in learning and teaching. Here's a slide that I've used a number of times. We couldn't debate whether this is actually the truth in terms of the matter with respect to artificial intelligence, the birth of AI. For those who may be interested in how old this was, you can see there's not too many ladies who are in this group of professors who met to discuss artificial intelligence. I guess if we had a similar slide in 2023, there would be probably a lot more. Maybe half would be female, half would be male. But in the 1950s, the so-called fathers of artificial intelligence, Minsky and McCarthy, managed to get a distinguished group of people together at Dartmouth College to talk about artificial intelligence. And from their point of view, any task performed by a program or a machine, that if a human carried out the same task, we would say the human had to apply intelligence to accomplish that task. I mean, that's a pretty simple, basic definition. I'm sure as we progress through the webinar or this forum, we can think of different ways of defining that. But very simply, artificial intelligence systems will typically demonstrate at least one of the following behaviours, or some of them: planning, learning, reasoning, problem solving, perception, and maybe social intelligence and creativity. A couple of months ago, I just took news articles in a single day, I think it was, about artificial intelligence. And there was a pretty broad set of presentations, from robotic traps in Queensland's wet tropical to Google's AI music generator. And somebody saying, well, I can probably generate a music which sounds like anybody who's been a great performer in the past. Nina Simone was one example. A lot's been happening, a lot's been talked about in terms of artificial intelligence and what it may actually mean. So where is artificial intelligence now? Well, I can probably say artificial intelligence is pretty much ubiquitous today. We may not think about it, but it's used to recommend what we should buy next online. And for those who have online email accounts, I guess you'll see probably on the right-hand side column, there's lists of things that somebody's telling you should buy. And if you go and click on something somewhere on the web that you might be interested in, probably in a very short period of time, there'll be something on the right-hand side saying, please go and buy this, or go and have a look at this. So it's pretty much ubiquitous. What we can next buy online to understand what to say to virtual assistants, such as Amazon's Alexa or Apple's Siri, to recognize who and what is in a photo, to spot spam, to detect credit card fraud, and to improve your health. Couldn't resist. I had to throw in there the name of a recent movie, Everything Everywhere All at Once, because I must say I'm struggling to keep up with all the developments that are occurring. So in this forum, we're just going to explore the impact of artificial intelligence in the fields of ICT, business, project management, healthcare, and education. And then Michelle's going to help understand where we are in terms of AI policy and practice in ECA higher education. I certainly hope that this forum help us understand a little bit about what some people are saying is a transformative revolution for mankind. I've been part of a UNESCO working group called AI in Education. I think probably for about 4 years now. They've been running regular workshops. It's quite an interesting group. You want to go online and find the UNESCO Intelligence in Education. It lists the different forums they run. But just on the slide here, I've shown some recent publications. Now, I probably should say recent. It was probably 2021. And you're probably saying, well, that's going to be completely out of date now because we're now in 2023 and look at all that's happened. But there were some really interesting publications about AI and the future of learning and the relevance of AI to K-12 in many different aspects of K-12, including for students who have learning disabilities. And then AI and education, a brief document about some kind of guidance for policymakers. So if you're interested, you could go and just look online for UNESCO AI in Education and join the forums, which happen probably at least 2 or 3 times a year. For those who are keen on movies, I couldn't resist this slide. So many movies over the last 20 or 30 years have been maybe what we might call, or I might call, AI dreamers. There's a very large number of popular movies. When I was young, I'm not sure how long it was, when I watched the original Tron movie, and then there's 2001, A Space Odyssey. There's so many movies that have been produced over the last, as I said, couple of decades. I've listed here The Matrix, Blade Runner, Minority Report, and the more recent Tron. A lot of them have talked about artificial intelligence and the dependence of mankind on computers. I'm sure you could add a lot more to this list. So here's today's ECA team that Michelle's mentioned. There's Michelle and myself, and O'Day and Viral as heads of discipline of IT and business. Rakesh, a senior lecturer in project management. Mohammed, who's the Associate Dean Scholarship and Research, but comes from a very strong health background. And John Haval, an educator in e-learning. So over to you, Michelle, because I think I should just say, are we ready for artificial intelligence in our disciplines and in education?
Thank you so much. Thank you for that introduction. I'm going to hand straight over to O'Day, who is our first speaker and who will be talking about artificial intelligence in information systems and information technology. So over to you, O'Day.
Thank you, Michelle, and Ayan for this nice introduction. I'm gonna share my screen. Just give me 1 second. Okay, just make sure you can watch my screen. Is that right? All right. Thank you all for joining all today. I'm gonna focus my talk today regarding the AI with the information technology. And we all know that the most sector of artificial intelligence play a really great job in the information technology and all the areas. In 2022, the world got first-hand look at the remarkable advance in the AI technology, including the launch of the OpenAI or ChatGPT, chatbot, and image and art generator. Companies that aren't invest in the AI, it will be really become obsolete. For example, Google and YouTube, they have a partner company, Alphabet, uses AI and automation in virtually every aspect on its business, from advertisement, pricing, to content promotion, to Gmail, spamming, filter, and many others. A lot of research have been going and done and working on the use of AI in information technology, information system as well. Here is the umbrella of the AI. If we look to this umbrella, it have many areas that are overlap. including the deep learning, machine learning, natural language processing, artificial intelligence, business intelligence. These are all combined together, and definitely there is the most important part, which is the statistic analysis that's being used for finding the probability in order to estimate the next action or predicted action or to be done. The most important part that I find a lot of research and goes in the machine learning, and that is my also field of interest and research. Here is the machine learning is a process that automatically improve or learn from the study or experience. That is the idea of the machine learning. It's to produce modules by analyzing every more complex data automatically. It's actually able to provide generalized solution through the architecture that can learn to improve its performance. Because of this interdisciplinary nature, it's play a vital role in various fields, including engineering, medicine, computing, and have been applied in various areas of ICT. Here I present the general classification of the machine learning. If we look carefully, there are four main parts, which is supervised learning, unsupervised learning, semi-supervised learning, and reinforcement learning. And under each one of them, there are other algorithms, or can I say, or modeling process. In the supervised learning, provides set of input and output, and we call it a data set with the labels, and it finds the relationship between them while training the system and in order to generate the model. So we basically provide input and output. We make the system learn from this set, and then in order to make the system be able to predict something is not being learned before. In the unsupervised learning, there is no output, which is non-label and label associated with the input, and used to actually basically for classification, so for patterns, making clustering, reduction of anomaly detection, and other. However, most of the real-world application data combined, the combination, there is a combination of the labeled and there's a labeled and unlabeled. So that's why there is the semi-supervised learning that have been introduced to work on the data that is combination of both label and unlabeled. The last one, which is reinforcement learning algorithm or techniques, which is continual learning by interacting with the environment and generate some information. So basically, they make the system do something, and then get a reward. And this reward could be positive or negative. The most higher or positive reward going to be considered the optimum solution for the design, and part of it is a Q learning. Here is some of the machine learning models. I believe many of the IT staff did a lot of research and use it. Here is example of supervised learning. One of them is the neural network that include multiple layers. And basically gonna simulate actually how the brain is working by giving a weight for any input connect to the layers, and these layers increase these layers in between, actually improve the performance by going to the details. And there's a way of make a train this neural network by using backpropagation and many other techniques. I'm not going to go in more details, but I just want to highlight some of these machine learning models. This another model, which is a graph representation of decision trees. Clear is there's a tree there, and there is a classification and different decision to be made. Here is the visualization of the reinforcement learning, and basically there's agent and interact with the environment. And then when this agent make action and then get a reward, and based on this reward we're gonna find what is the best solution that have been used in the typical application robotic system, when the robot there's no really guide, then when a robot reach a wall, then there is a negative or low reward, and then gonna find another direction and get a positive reward, and keep going until gonna find or we're gonna calculate all of these positive rewards, find the optimal path. But this have to be used for multiple iteration in order to find the best path. Here is some of the AI application, as Ian also mentioned in his talk. There are there are currently a lot of work done in the food automation using machine learning, like here making a pizza, and they put a camera and find what is the ages of this pizza in order to put the right ingredients and sauce. In addition, there is a drone for delivery and robotics for car automation. There's a lot of application previously and get further and further improved. Here making burger, and definitely many people use this robotic for vacuum, robotic for cleaning, and many other applications. Here is some of the use of the AI for tracking the path for the car used in Tesla car, and by making a camera and detect all the objects and keep and how it's gonna find the right directions and auto driving. As I mentioned, machine learning have a lot of application. In one of them is in ICT, and it solves many of the challenging in data communication and networking, including wireless sensor network, which is the area of my research, such as localization, coverage problem, anomaly, and fault detection, and routings the data from one sensor to another sensor is a very hot topic as well. Data aggregation, synchronization, and many other use machine learning in ICT and in Internet of Things as well. There are benefit of using the AI in the cybersecurity. It's basically have improve its knowledge to understand cyber threats and cyber risk by consuming billion of data artifacts. In addition, the AI used in cybersecurity by analyze the relationship between the threats like malicious files, IP addresses, suspicious IP addresses, or insider in seconds or minutes. Further, provide risk analysis, reduce the time security analysis takes to make a critical decision, which will be faster than definitely the human, and definitely faster than the traditional method for detecting any malicious activities. In communication technology, also there's a remarkable growth in data traffic, a new application of communication such as wearable devices, autonomous system, drones, and Internet of Things continue to emerge and generate even more data traffic with various different performance requirements. This growth actually in the amount of data through different devices that generate all these data bring forward an visible need for more intelligent processing, operation, and optimization for the communication in the networks. Therefore, there is a need for integration machine learning into design, planning, and optimization of the future communication. Particularly emerging framework of deep learning can be used for intelligent processing in a broad range of or different range of scenarios. I'm not going to go in more details, but there's a lot of work have been done and research going to how to use the machine learning or AI in the communication. Also, machine learning used in the wireless networks, as shown in this picture. There's a lot of sensors. All of these sensors generate some information. Some of these sensors are movable, that when it's moved, going to break the route for sending the data between them. That make a lot of challenges, and the AI or machine learning have been used to find the suitable or the optimal path for it. Here is some of the use of the machine learning in data routing. And this is in the wireless sensor network, where all the sensors have to send data to a central point, which is the sink, what we call it, and finding the best route also with to save the sensors power is really a challenge task. Here is battery power. It shows the battery power of the sensor networks is very have a limited small battery like your mobile device, and when you put a sensor in the area, you cannot actually change the batteries or recharge that battery. So that's saving the energy of the sensors is very important part for this work. And finally, I'm just gonna highlight that my recent or latest publication in the sensor network, which is used the reinforcement learning, have been published. And everybody, if interested, I'm happy to cooperate to do more work and talk more about the machine learning. Thank you all. And yeah, thank you, Michelle. And that's all for me for this small period of time.
Yeah, thank you so much. That was really interesting. And if anyone has any questions for O'Day, please put your hand up or ask. I do have one question while everyone's thinking. I was wondering if students in your course are asking you more and more about AI, like, are they worried about what it means for their, future and their employment, or are they interested in wanting to know more about, how they will be, coming across it in their roles, that sort of thing?
Yeah, actually, the machine learning is goes in all areas, and definitely with the security. Some students I find during my teaching sessions are really interested in security, and they start talking about also research. I also encourage them to have a research, and when they go to apply project with the security and machine learning, because it's used a lot actually in the firewall, how to find the how to detect these packets or this communication is abnormal or abnormal or not normal. So detecting that is really a challenge. So there's a lot of interest in that area.
Okay,
Michelle.
yeah. Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for O'Day?
I think Ayan put his hand on.
Oh, he did?
I think so. I'm not sure.
No, I was that was me clapping, but
Oh, thank you, Ayan.
thank you. I'm happy to wait to the end of the session.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I was going to say people might, be brewing on a question, and if we'll have some time at the end, I think. I can see Fiona's got her hand up.
Yeah, I was just interested in, O'Day, you're talking a bit about, the huge amounts of data that we have now, like, from wearable devices and well, everything we do, we're leaving this data trail. And I was wondering if you've tried, or I don't know if anyone else has tried yet, to use AI as a way to analyze data. And I don't know if that's a possible application for students. I know a lot of students are awful at using Excel or creating tables or graphs. Do you think that that's like maybe a very small little step, or have you seen any students having a go at that, using AI to kind of analyze big chunks of data?
Thank you, Fiona. Really, the AI, there are two ways of implementing. So either you're going to use a redesign algorithms, and basically most of the work use a Python language or MATLAB or some kind of programming required. Using Excel, I don't believe it's possible to use Excel for doing any AI or data analysis, because possible if you integrate the Excel with the programming, using like I know Visual Basic can be integrated with the Excel to do a really great job. This is not the optimal way to do it, but it's possible one way to do it, but it'll be hard. I recommended use Python or MATLAB that allow that have a rich library actually that help everybody. Some of them already designed, some of them they can change it a bit more, that make it more easier. But again, not everybody know Python programming or MATLAB programming, and it's hard sometimes. Yeah, so this is I think.
It is an interesting question, Fiona, and I guess we'll hear from Mohammed a bit later about health, but certainly in the health area, we kind of think we're overwhelmed with the vast amount of data, and there were a lot of things in health. I think about big data and how do you analyze it, and I think one distinguished person's talked about the tsunami of information and the blizzard of methods, but then the drought of really experienced people who can actually make use of that. And I guess hopefully at some point in the future, a day or a beer, some of your students will become very good at analysing the vast amounts of data. But back to you, Michelle.
Thank you, everybody. Rakesh is going to be speaking to us about artificial intelligence in the discipline of project management. So over to you, Rakesh.
Thank you very much, Michelle, and good morning to all my colleagues. Warm good morning from Sydney. Weather is getting a little bit chilly here. Thank you for the introductions and this opportunity to present some of the ideas related to AI in project management. So I'll be talking from project management perspective, how AI has been looked into the field of project management and what are the futures for us there. This is my picture for AI, which I got it from PMI itself. So to start with, I just want to start with the timeline of AI, just to give us a brief idea, because AI is not a new thing. We've been with AI for many, many decades, but we have not realized it until something called ChatGPT comes along the way. So everybody is talking about AI as if it is something new. It is not new. We've been using AI for a long, long time. Let's see. The timeline, it started from 1940 to 1950. This is how I try to make it in a decade. This is the first thing we can say that in World War II, Enigma to decode the Enigma machine, the bomb machine was used, and this we can think original idea of AI is there. And in 1915, the test for machine intelligence by Alan Turner was done. And then from 1950 to 1960 decade, John McCartney coined the term AI for the first time. This is what Ian mentioned about in 1956, ever first AI conference in Dartmouth College. So this was something for all AI lovers to look forward at that time. And then from 1960 to 1970, some improvement happened. 1961, the first industrial robot Unimat at assembly line. 64, first chatbot Elijah developed at MIT. 66 general purpose mobile robot developed at Stanford. 1970 to 1990, I call it AI hibernation period. Not much happened during this period. And after this, much of the AI goal was achieved during this decade, 90 to 2000. 1997, Gary Kasparov defeated by IBM Deep Blue in chess. I still remember the news when I was in school. It was a big shock to us. In 1998, emotionally intelligent robot Kismet was developed. In 1999, pet robot dog Ebo was launched by Sony. 2000 to 2010, much of things happened here. 2002, the vacuum cleaning, which Odesh shown in his presentation. Romba introduced 2008, voice recognition, and Siri introduced 2009 autonomous driving system developed by Google. And in 2010 to 2020, many things happened in this field of AI. 2011, Q&A computer system, IBM Watson was launched. 2014, Alexia, a virtual assistant AI system by Amazon. 2016, humanoid robot, Sophia. She is the first to receive a citizenship, Saudi Arabian citizenship. 2017, a first AI music composer, Amper. And in 19, what we are talking about at the moment, OpenAI released first GPT-2. And then now what we are talking about at this point of time, many things happened. 2020, GPT-3, and everybody's talking about what is this, AI, everything because of that. 2020, DALL-E released text-to-image generator. 2022, ChatGPT 3.5, and now it is GPT-4, and it's ever going on. So this is the overall scenario of AI. So we know that AI is not new things. We've been with AI for many times, but only the idea and this, it becomes a buzzword after what we have recently seen because of ChatGPT. Now, I just want to talk about from AI and automation in project management. This is what I would like to talk about. There are a few research which has been conducted by PMI. And according to this research, 81% of the project professionals acknowledge that impact of AI in their organization, and about 37% reported that the adoption of AI technology is of higher priority for the organizations. So that means now majority of the organizations are thinking about AI, adopting the AI technologies in their organization to do various kinds of projects and activities. There was another report by McKinsey Global Institute, and according to that report, by 2030, the adoption of automation will impact an average 400 million workers globally, or approximately 15% of the global workforce. And we may need to evolve their skill sets to adopt the global automation and AI. This is something that we have to think about as an educational institute, what sort of a skill sets we need to impart on our students for if they have to face this future, because future is AI. Whether we agree or not, whether we like or not, this is the future, and we have to be prepared for that. And so when we look at the project management itself, the project tasks, many of the conventional project tasks like risk management, estimation, scheduling, etc., will undergo an evolution in which these are the traditional management tasks now, which will be project management tasks, which will be taken care by the machines, will be taken care by the machines. So this is the global scenario, and majority of things are happening in this area. So these are the two references from where I got this information from. And now let's look at the AI and the PM methodology. Where do we stand when we talk about AI? This is the methodology that we used till 2020. It was based on PMBOK 6, Project Management Book of Body of Knowledge by PMI Institute, Project Management Institute, 2017 edition. We no longer use this. But this was the idea till this time. It was a process-driven methodology where you consider a project management as a system approach where there is an input and it will be processed by tools and technique, and we'll have an output. And accordingly, at that time, 12 knowledge areas were developed, 49 different process activities were recognized, and 5 process groups were recognized. And then with the changing projects getting more complex, agile project management, lots of things are happening. Because of that, recently we moved to another approach, which is called principle-driven methodology in PMBOK. This is the latest methodology that we are using. We are no longer using the process-based methodology. However, it still can be used, but we follow 2021, which is a principle-based. Now, according to this, they say there are 12 project principles, 8 performance domains, tailoring. It is basically focused towards a value-driven project management and in principle-based. And it will be it can be adopted. It is good for the agile project management, and so it offers a flexibility, and it can be tailored. So this is based on the latest development that is happening in the field of project management. Now, with the development of AI, the fast-paced development of AI, this is what I feel we're going to go in that direction. This is my view. So we are heading towards data-driven methodology. I call it D2PM, data-driven project management. So this is where we are heading towards. So we are using AI in this perspective, and sooner or later, I'm sure PMI and other institutes are going to include this in their methodology. That's what I foresee. This is data-driven principles, requirement of new set of tools, techniques, and knowledge. So that means the knowledge that we have, the traditional knowledge so far we have, is not enough for us to cope with this kind of a development, which is going to happen soon. In the near future. So we need a next set of tools, technique, and knowledge. As of now, we need to have some certifications, and this certification is good enough for us to work in a professional in industry, but now it is no longer going to be applicable certifications. So we need a different set of skills. This is what I see that's going to happen in the future. But now what we have is this principle-based. And these are the 6 AI components which have already impacted our industry. And this is based on the research done by PMI, focus research. And as you can see, there are 6 components of AI: knowledge-based system, machine learning, decision management, expert system, deep learning, and robotic processing automation. So these are the 6 components of AI which has already been affecting our industry. And these are some of the survey results. Now, especially when I looked into these things, when I went through many articles, what I see that there are 2 important components that is more going to be used in project management. One is this machine learning. And in the machine learning, we will be using supervised, unsupervised, and reinforcement learning, which Audrey talked about. And another one is NLP, natural language processing. That is something, a component of that AI, which I think will be more useful in project management. So basically, this is already in our field. People are using it. They have already seen the benefit of it, and we are heading towards this. Now, when it comes to AI, where can I use the AI? So this is what I thought about. So being a teacher of project management, and then teaching the project management from quite some time, this is what I thought. AI can be used at 3 levels in an organization: one at strategic level, one is tactical level, and one at the operational level. In the strategic level, mostly based on decision making, the AI and its AI assisted tool can help a manager, senior leaders at the strategy level to make informed decisions. Because we are producing a copious of data. We have lots of data, we are producing it. And AI thrives, this technology thrives on data. Until and unless we fed them data, they are not going to work. So they thrive on the data, and we are producing lots of data. And this data is going to be used by the senior level managements to make informed decisions and better decisions. For example, if you want to select a project, for example, project selections. So think about the scenario where you can come up with 3 options, and the AI will help you to tell that, okay, Project A, if you implement, has a 70% chance of success. Project B, if you implement, has a 80% chance of success, and Project C, if you implement, has a 30% chance of success. Though ABC all are strategically aligned towards your strategic objective. At the time, as of now, we do not have those kind of information, and AI can do that. These things has already been in practice. People are showing it. People are doing they are doing this kind of a simulations, and they are showing this is going to work. Another is at the tactical level. Basically, it is tactical level. It's more like a PMO level, project management or program management office or portfolio management office. At that level, it's going to work, where they're going to use this power of AI analytics. So to analyze the data, to come up with the reports, to come up with the visualization of the data, to understand the status, how my projects are running, how my programs are running, how the portfolio is running. All this of a status will be given at that level. So it will be very easy for the P3M, project program and portfolio manager, to control and oversee the tasks. And at the operational level, it will be more like a data analytics, where a project manager or program manager can use the power of AI to do lots of things which generally we do manually. We used to do later on, we have some other things like a scheduling, we have a cost estimation, and to understand the scope creep, and what is the probability of success. All these things can be done at that operational level. So there are 3 levels where AI can be used. This is what I see. Now, we are not using in a full capacity, but industry is already embracing the technology, and they are using it. So that's the 3 level where AI can be used. Now, coming back, if that is the case, then what sort of a skill set we need for our students as well? And we have to think, this is what I call a skill set for 21st century PM. Now, the soft skill, this is the important, because now, since we are going to use AI and AI-assisted technology, the traditional competency that a project manager has in order to implement the methodology and to manage the various tasks will be taken care by the machine. So then now what the manager is going to do? So the companies are investing their time to train their managers in this area of soft skill, where machine is not going to overtake you. You will still have to work as a human, soft skill, your conflict resolution, stakeholder engagement, negotiation, mentoring, training, all these things. So that is the area where we should focus. Our students should develop the skill in this part. Another is emotional intelligence. That's another area. So this is another skill that is needed, because the emotional intelligence was reported as one of the top 15 sought after skills for 2025 by World Economic Forum. So emotional intelligence, another area where we can train our student. Data science and data analytics. This is where you must have that skill now if you want to work in the future as a PM. Where there is a lot of technology, AI-assisted technology, you must have a knowledge, skills in this area of data science and data analytics. So far, that's no problem. Even we can manage if we don't have anything, but now we need that. And complex problem solving, that basically intelligent real-time analysis. So we need to have that kind of a thinking capacity, problem-solving capacity, real problem, challenging problem, this kind of a skill we need to have, and socio-cultural and personal skills. As I said earlier, many of the tasks, technical skills that we generally teach in college and universities will be taken care by AI. Then what are you going to do? We need to be socially, we need to have this social and interpersonal competency, cultural empathy, attitude, self-direction, these kind of things, machine cannot overtake us. We have to, these are the skills that I think we need to think about giving to our student, as well as to make ourselves aware of these skills. Now, these are some of the tools which is currently used in industry. So these tools, AI tool, they are to supplement and enhance human activities, basically intelligence assistance and automation. These are the tools, and these tools use some of the components of AI. Some of them are using machine learning. Some of them are using NLP. These components are using chatbots, Zipbox, REST Cooper, Polydon, Carrijon, Trello, Proofhof, Asana, Ricky, ClickUp, Project Insight, Notion, Monday, and many more. So these are the people are using these things at the operational level, not in the tactical and the strategic level. For tactical and strategic level, now the new set of tools for project management is being developed, which is especially, I would say, a predictive AI and prescriptive AI. So to predict, you are using the AI to predict, and we are using the AI to prescribe the right solution to us. So these are the area where they are using. So predictive tools are being used. It is being used. And people are testing it. And there are some companies which are already working in this area to do a predictive AI. There are companies who are working. So these are some of the tools which is currently being used. Now, next question is, now what can we do as an EPEC in an institution? What can we do? These are some of my thoughts. We can talk about AI literacy. This is what Michelle was talking about earlier. So we can introduce this concept of AI to our associate concepts. This is what I say. I say PRJ 5001 is the introductory project management course where we can introduce it. In fact, I have already done that in my unit. I have introduced this idea in my unit, and I generally discuss this in week 10. In the next week, I'll be talking about this with my students. So this is what we can do. Data science and data analytics, we must need to have a course. We used to have a course earlier in this regarding. That's why I call reintroduce, a course something like SPM 1108. That is a course on data analytics, decision making, business decision analysis, something like that. We need to think, maybe as an elective course, but we need to think in this direction now. If we really want to go ahead and face the challenge. PM leadership, this is very, very essential. Now we need to reorient our unit, such as BUS 5004. At the moment, we are talking about traditional leadership. Now, traditional leadership is not going to work. We need to talk to them about AI leadership, where emotional intelligence, social cultural competency, empathy, these ideas need to be taught. So this need to be reoriented. And then another area which I think we can do is we need to expand the scope of research in PRJ 5106 and PRJ 6001. So these are the things which we can do as an institute to be aligned with this development which is happening all over the world. This is my thought. And thank you very much. At the end, I leave you with this very beautiful quotation by Amit Ray. As more and more artificial intelligence is entering into the world, more and more emotional intelligence must enter into leadership. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much, Rakesh. That was fascinating. And your ideas about building in AI literacy and AI research are spot on, and something that we'll need to tackle in a very systematic way in our courses very, very, very soon. But your other point that you made is a really good one too, that we need to be developing our students non-AI related skills, those very human skills like stakeholder engagement and negotiation and leadership and emotional intelligence. We need to keep that at front of mind as well. So I thought that there were, some really interesting points. I can see Ian's got his microphone unmuted. Ian, over to you.
Oh, as a fantastic presentation, Rakesh, and for someone who's had a long-term interest in project management, to have you clearly articulate what the potential impact is in the project management discipline. And as you've just described, how we can actually change the way we're teaching our Masters of Project Management business to reflect on what would be the really key skills for a great project manager in the future, who may have AI helping them a lot of what we might have called the boring parts of project management, but to help them understand they really need to develop those leadership skills, the emotional intelligence, all of those. Excellent presentation, and good to see you're already implementing some of your thoughts into the teaching program.
I think I echo everybody. Rakesh, what a thorough analysis and presentation here. Well done. And the fact that you're backing it up with change to your courses and so on.
I'm going to hand over to Mohammed now, who's going to talk about AI in healthcare. So over to you, Mohammed.
Thank you very much, Michelle. I can't really agree more on what Rakesh and Uday have both discussed in their presentations. and my presentation in the topic of artificial intelligence in healthcare will be very similar, but from my probably from a different perspective, because this is more related to healthcare. I will start with an overview of artificial intelligence in healthcare, because AI now is transforming the healthcare across different areas in medicine and in healthcare. For example, in diagnostics, in personalized and precision medicine, in drug discovery, in the process of clinical decision support and systems, in the medical research, in the area of natural language processing, in the robotics and patient engagement, and creating a more efficient and patient-centered healthcare systems. We now are witnessing more AI-powered and enabled tools in healthcare for those providers to make them more in power of doing decisions, making informed decisions by analyzing large amounts of data. As Rakesh mentioned, big data in healthcare as well. AI is used to identify the patterns, predicting the outcomes, optimizing the treatment plans for patients, individual patients, which is reflecting more on personalized healthcare. AI is also used to improve patient outcomes and increase the efficiency in healthcare system. In addition to that, it's very essential to address the ethical considerations like data privacy, bias, transparency. All of these are very crucial to ensure that responsible AI implementation is being done and protect patients' rights and prevent any worsening of their existing conditions or disparities in receiving healthcare services, for example. One of the areas is the diagnostics and personalized medicine. AI is assisting in analyzing medical images, for example, like X-rays and CT scans and MRIs, by using these different AI supported and based algorithms, leading to improved early detection and potential health issues with more accurate diagnosis and better informed healthcare decisions. Because AI helps to identify early a type of injury. For example, like the image here, it's just a designed image. It's not a real image. But if you can imagine that we have 60 scans of the MRI for the same patient, it would take the doctor like maybe 15 minutes to figure out which cuts or which scans or which parts are or have the abnormality. But for the AI, it's easy for the system to find the abnormality in 2 or 3 of these cuts. So it can easily identify where is the tumor or where is the cyst within the tissue, within the brain or something, and then suggest even the type of the lesion based on comparative analytics and so on. In addition to that, by analyzing patient data like medical histories, like genetic information and different lifestyle factors, AI can help the physicians to tailor the treatment to individual patients, resulting in a more effective interventions, reduced adverse events and side effects, and more precision and personalized approach to medicine. AI can also identify patients at risk for certain conditions by assessing risk factors and analyzing historical data, which enables early intervention and early treatment, which means better treatment and more effective management of their medical conditions. In the area of drug discovery and medical research, AI actually accelerates drug discovery by analyzing large amounts of data, identifying the potential drug targets, predicting how these drugs might interact with each other and with the body as well, and simulating the potential side effects, allowing for the development of more effective and more targeted treatments. AI also transforms medical research really by enabling researchers to analyze large amounts of data, identifying new patterns and new connections between, for example, risk factors and conditions and their symptoms and signs, treatment effectiveness, and so on. So this also supports the medical research. While automating all of these tasks, such as data entry, analysis with AI, this can really help to speed up the research process, reduce the human errors, and allow researchers to focus more on complex tasks and designed outcomes. In the area of remote monitoring, for example, and also in the area of patient engagement, we find that AI can be used to monitor patient data, such as vital signs, wearable devices, Internet of Things, enabling some medical equipments to communicate directly with hospitals, with healthcare professionals, with server computers and so on, which can help to alert the healthcare system or the providers as well if there is a potential issue, a potential problem, and enable timely intervention. Remote monitoring can also improve patients' quality of life. It can also reduce the number of hospital visits to emergency departments. It can also allow patients to remain in their preferred environment, ultimately reducing the healthcare costs and improving patients' accessibility and equity to receiving high-quality healthcare services. AI also engages patients in their healthcare by empowering them to take a more active role in their healthcare, in their wellness through chatbots, for example. Now we are witnessing development of chatbots and conversational agents in mental health, in GP areas, in primary healthcare, virtual assistants, personalized health information provided to patients, leading them to do better decisions regarding their, for example, self-management of certain conditions, especially chronic conditions, mainly cardiovascular and diabetes, if we will give specific examples. The future of AI in healthcare, actually AI continues to evolve, and the healthcare system is likely to transform significantly with much improvement in patient outcomes, more informed decision-making, and increased efficiency across different aspects of healthcare, especially in the diagnostics and treatment. Addressing the ethical considerations and ensuring responsible AI use will be a very essential part for the benefit of patients, and it needs more effort from all the stakeholders, developers of AI, users of AI, as well as regulators and legislative-like organizations. The collaboration between healthcare providers, technology companies, and regulatory bodies is very important for establishing the guidelines and best practices for using AI in innovation in healthcare. And the integration of AI in healthcare will also require continuous education for healthcare professionals as well to support better understanding of these technologies and how they can really be used for the benefit of patients. Now, how can AI impact different types or different aspects of healthcare jobs? AI has the potential to significantly impact employment in healthcare sector, both positively and negatively. This includes, for example, job displacement, because AI and some automation might lead to displacement of certain jobs where these are responsible for repetitive tasks or things that are related to reporting, for example, interpreting medical images or interpreting lab results and so on. This can be completely automated, which will be replacing some part of the job done by certain healthcare professionals. For other jobs, it could lead to some kind of transformation. So AI could also transform the existing healthcare rules, requiring healthcare professionals to adapt to new technologies, new skills. For example, physicians and nurses may need to learn more about working alongside AI supported tools or driven tools and systems effectively, which means that they might need a new set of skills to manage their new jobs after being transformed by AI. One more impact is the increased efficiency, because AI has the potential to improve efficiency in healthcare by automating the processes This could be considered as a support for healthcare professionals so that they can focus more on direct care, they can focus more on human interactions, and leave the other jobs of reporting or repetitive tasks to the AI systems to do them. This might end with potentially requiring fewer staff in certain areas and enabling existing staff to manage even a larger patient population. On the other hand, it could also create new jobs. So AI could create new job opportunities for healthcare professionals, especially in the area of data science, in the area of ethics, algorithm development, system integration. And all these new rules would require, as I mentioned, specialized sets of skills to be used to support these new jobs. Enhanced decision-making also, this is a kind of impact on the job because AI can really enhance the clinical decision support. They can also, through the algorithms, identify abnormalities, suggest new treatments, suggest diagnosis, and so on. In addition to that, remote monitoring, remote care, telemedicine, also the AI-driven remote monitoring will be a great impact, a significant impact on the concept of telemedicine and remote care for both patients as well as for healthcare professionals. So these are the main impacts of AI on jobs in healthcare. Now, skills required for our students to use or to start using AI in their fields. Well, I agree with Rakesh's presentation about different types of skills. We find that students will need definitely some kind of technical skills like programming, where students should be proficient in programming languages if they aim to work mainly in AI in the healthcare. They will need also mathematics and statistics, mainly understand how to interpret the statistics and how to understand the results and outcomes. They might need technical skills related to machine learning and deep learning. They might also need technical skills related to data processing and analysis, especially the different types of analytics, as described the descriptive analytics, predictive analytics, and prescriptive analytics as well. They also will need soft skills like critical thinking and problem solving. They will need communication skills. They will need collaboration skills where they can work alongside AI with other stakeholders of the healthcare provision itself. In terms of ethical considerations related to AI, they will need to equip themselves with a sound understanding and foundation of ethics. So students should learn more about the ethical considerations related to AI and should understand responsible AI development and implementation. So all of these are skills required for our students. Now, preparing our students for AI integration and opportunities, they have to understand and learn how to incorporate these different AI modules and courses. We need to incorporate these modules and courses into our curriculum. For example, because at the Master of Health Management at the College of Health Sciences, we don't have yet like a component on AI. However, we are using AI as examples in the unit, for example, Unit 5, Health Informatics, when we are giving examples of clinical decision support systems and tools. Predictive analytics, predictive tools, we refer to AI. But when we are developing, I hope we are planning soon to develop a program, a Master in Health Informatics, then AI would be a complete module, a big module within this kind of course. We also need to, for example, support our students by inviting guest speakers to conduct workshops, lectures. Those should be like expert people in the AI, and these should be AI focused events. We could also add more projects with more hands-on projects on analyzing AI impact on healthcare services, on patient outcomes, on the clinical practice, and so on. We also need to focus on interdisciplinary collaboration between CHS, EPIC, and HELI as well, so that we can create a kind of interdisciplinary AI program if we would like to focus more on AI at ECA, and then AI-focused students clubs and competitions. We could also do some discussions among students, led by students, and then some contests, competitions to promote AI-focused activities and help their peer learning for skills development. So as a conclusion, AI is transforming healthcare, transforming health management, transforming many of the fields of the clinical practice and provision of healthcare services. We are now witnessing more technology-based solutions like telemedicine and remote monitoring. However, AI will do more transformation of all of these areas, which needs really all of us to be up to date with all of these changes, like, for example, ChatGPT in writing, in text, and so on. And we have many, many other tools that can be used as well, not only in health education, but also in the healthcare practice itself and the provision of healthcare services. Thank you very much for your time. Now it's time for questions.
Oh, O'Day has his hand up. Go ahead, O'Day.
Thank you, Mohammed, for this interested talking about the health and the AI together. Some of your slides actually interact me to ask this question when you talk about the future jobs.
Yes.
As a doctor, as a direction of or in the doctors, and do you believe that the AI can replace the GP doctors in the coming future, like maybe another 50 years? As you know, the AI change a lot of things. From now we have ChatGPT, and we have a lot of tools. Do you think also change may be possible the reporting for radiologists? So when they look to the images and they make up films for MRI or any other scanner, and then there's a report comes at the end. Do you think the AI gonna be generate kind of reports, because the
Yes.
analyzing of these AI will be more accurate than the eyes, and there is a lot of
Sure. Yes.
details can AI look to it.
Thank you very much, Uday, for these very good questions. Well, when I was doing my PhD at Macquarie University, a big team led by Professor Enrique Coyera, at that time, they were trying to invent a robot with the ability of being like providing services like diagnosing conditions, reading reports, and even like doing good voice recognition from patients. The problem was that the robot could not differentiate which one was speaking. Was it the doctor or was it the patient? Because it is trained on the voice of the doctor, but it's not trained on the voice of patients. So in my point of view, this might need like a few decades to have like a complete ability of replacing GPs, for example. But for the time being, let's say for the next 10 or 20 years, I think from my experience and from all the research that I have went through, I think it will improve the productivity of the GPs, so that a GP could do either more work, or could do better work in terms of more accuracy of, let's say, parsing the text, natural language processing for the text, better voice recognition. It can help the doctors to write accurate reports easily. Much improvement in the voice recognition area. This is one thing. Much improvement for radiologists, for example, when they examine MRIs and CT scans. And I have seen the prototypes of these systems. They can really identify the lesions, the different like tumors and cysts and other things within brain, within the liver, within different organs of the body. But nowadays, we are witnessing a more clever systems that can even identify the exact type of the tumor. Not only that this is a tumor, but the exact type of the tumor.
Wow, that's amazing.
And it's accurate by 95%, which means that at least it will give you like a short list. You know, when we say like a short list, in medicine, we call that a differential diagnosis. So instead of thinking of 40 conditions, it could tell you that this is one of two or one of three things. And then you have these tests to differentiate. So if you find this value, then this is the diagnosis. If you find that value, then this is the diagnosis. So this is another type of a clinical decision support that could really improve the productivity of the doctors and their accuracy of diagnosing and managing different conditions. The other thing related to reporting, yes, it can help the physicians to read the reports and to write the reports in a more accurate way. Now we have text to voice, voice to text. So we have these different things. So it can help the physicians to listen to the reports while doing like typing or examining the patient or something. So it will save some time. And in the same time, when they are writing their reports, it can help them to identify errors, not only in the grammar or the context of their writing, but even in their consistency. For example, certain diseases come to males or females, certain diseases come on certain age groups, like juvenile diabetes type 1 comes in children, for example, more between the age of 5 and 9 years, and then late onset type 1 is like 30s, and then type 2 is 50s. So it can help to manage the consistency of reporting in a more accurate way from a medical perspective, not only from an English grammar or language and so on. So this is another dimension of productivity and accuracy. So it will help in every aspect, but I don't think that it can replace really the physicians or the nurses, but it will improve their productivity much, which is very important aspect, because in Australia, we are 82,000 short nurses. So we need more, we need nurses, we need more 82,000 more nurses for the healthcare system in Australia because of many, many other factors, including aging population and so on. So if we improve the productivity of the existing nurses, we might be able to minimize the gap and reduce this kind of deficiency so that we can utilize the manpower, the workforce existing now for more productivity and better outcomes for patients.
Thank you very much.
Wow, that's really fascinating. Thank you so much, Mohammed. Yeah, I learned a lot. Thank you. Our next speaker is John Haval, who is a lecturer at HELI, our Higher Education Leadership Institute, and he has a very keen interest in AI in education and will no doubt have plenty of interesting things to say. So over to you, John.
Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for having me on today. And it's great to see some familiar faces in the room from probably the last sort of 15 years or so that I've been working around Sydney and the like. But yeah, it's great to be on here. I say my name's John Haval. I've been in education for around about 20 years. And in the last 10 years or so, I've been working a lot with educational projects, curriculum design, redesign, capability development in staff. And I'm head of learning, teaching and innovation at a private college in Sydney, Management College. And I also, as Michelle said, I teach on the graduate certificate in higher education practice courses, the Master of E-Learning, and I've been involved in some of the design of those since early on in HELI's startup. So yeah, so I'm going to talk a little bit about AI more generally in higher education. It's been really fascinating to hear a lot of your experiences and also to hear about AI usage in your disciplines and in your industry particularly. And for me, some real insights into what you've been saying. As Rikesh said earlier on, AI isn't new, but these rapid advances in generative AI and large language learning models just recently, since November or so, have really forced us to change and forced us to pivot. And I'd probably argue that even more so than during COVID. I think, you know, with COVID, it forced us into embracing online learning, but I think here we've got a more sustained challenge with the sort of rapid rise of AI models. So I tend to find myself with very mixed feelings about AI. I'm wildly excited on the one hand, and I can't get off LinkedIn and looking at everybody's posts and discussing AI and how it's going to work and how it might end up more generally in education. But then at the same time, I am concerned, and I can only see increasing complexity, rapid change. And as Rikesh said, you know, what was that, 2030, 400 million people will need to evolve their skill set. So it's massive societal impacts. It raises a lot of ethical questions, and also, you know, that sort of self-reflection on what it means to be human. And I think that's probably where I want to sort of take this a little bit more and look at it in terms of assessment practices, in terms of perhaps some of the tools that we can use as well, to ensure that we, and I think it was Phil Dawson who said in Deakin, the big challenge of 2030 is going to be how we measure student achievement and student development in a world with AI. So obviously we don't want to measure the generative AI that is produced through models like ChatGPT and so on. We want to be able to measure the real human skill development that the students come onto our courses for. So still real value in the higher education proposition. So I'll just start though. Michelle, do we have time for this? I was going to say we could do a quick poll.
Yeah, go for it. Let's do it.
Okay, all right. Let's give it a go. I thought we could do just a really quick poll, just to see how you feel. I mean, this was more designed, I think, towards an educator audience. Maybe not all of you are educators. Some of you are more senior managers and so on. But let's give this one a go. How are you feeling about using generative AI in your practice, or maybe in your position, in your workplace? If you can scan the QR code with your phone camera and you can answer that poll. So we've got unfamiliar, you know, haven't used generative AI, curious, minimal usage, cautious, evaluating risks. Are you confident, reaping benefits, or are you enthusiastic, frequent use, transforming your practice? You can scan the QR code, or you can just go to menti.com and put in that code. Hopefully this is going to work.
It's just asking for you to open the voting, the presenter to open the voting.
I always do one thing. Let me just open that up 1 second. Bear with me. It's coming in now. Can you see that?
Yes, it's working now. Thank you.
Good stuff. I'll just bring that up. So your results are coming in. And the majority of you are hanging out in the middle there. You're cautious, occasional use, evaluating risks. And that's interesting because I've run this poll in a couple of other contexts, and I'm getting, it's very similar, similar to other areas. Mm-hmm. So that's sort of cautious use. So you're evaluating the risks at the moment. And I think we tend to go, we've been through a bit of a curve, I think, in some ways. It's sort of a kind of a very excited sort of wanting to use AI, and then we've sort of been held back a little bit, and we've been discussing some of the risks and also evaluating the extent to which we can use it within our disciplines and what the implications might be. So all right, great. It's good to see where you're at with that. Excellent, thank you. If you've got any comments about that, you can always stick them in the chat. Okay, let me move on. Okay, so just I'm just going to share a couple of questions to get us started. And these are questions that I've just got in my mind at the moment. around AI use and within the broader educational sphere. First question is just, is our current HE infrastructure capable of handling AI academic integrity issues effectively? So we might want to drive forward with the use of artificial intelligence in our disciplines, but have we got the infrastructure available to ensure that we are maintaining integrity? I would probably argue that not yet, and therefore in some areas people are treading carefully because work can be submitted that maybe not be the student's own. Turnitin have developed a new tool that will help with generative AI to sort of help us as educators assess whether the work is theirs or not. But again, a lot of universities, I mean, and this is moving very, very quickly. Just this morning, I was reading that on the Academic Integrity Network, that a lot of universities are not going with the Turnitin tool at the moment because it will give false positives. And it could mean that, students who have got original work are being penalized. So again, lots of other detection tools that are out there, but whether we actually have the infrastructure there to do this is debatable. And also whether we have a robust enough policy and procedures around AI use as well. But we're working on it. Do we have a universal approach to AI pedagogy in higher education? So how do we integrate academic integrity across the curriculum? How do we redevelop a curriculum with that in mind? How do we redevelop assessment with this in mind? I'd argue that we don't have that at the moment, but there's a lot of conversation around this, and I think it's something for us to find our own way in and to base it upon a reliable sort of framework of how we use it. And also, do we have a framework to think about the integration of AI tools across the learner life cycle? So thinking again more broadly around the whole of educational life cycle, what tools are we going to use? How is that going to support students in different ways? So I'll have a little look at that as we move on. So immediate needs in higher education, I mean, what we're talking about, this term, essentially, we've needed to assure learning and integrity. So that I was on a TEXA webinar with Helen Neal, who talked about the regulatory perspective, and that obviously we need to continue to assure the learning in our courses and ensure that students meet the learning outcomes that we've got accredited. So that was really important this term. We had to make sure that that continued to happen. And we also needed to clarify our approach. So there were changes or tweaks or changes to policies and procedures. There was communication out to staff, communication out to students. We also needed to be very clear in that communication, and we also all needed to be on the same page. And also have that conversation about what is acceptable use, and also highlight some of those ethical concerns, which some of you already discussed already. And I think one of the things that we needed to do sort of on the fly was to tweak those at-risk assessments. So initial conversations are around, we're looking at AI's weaknesses, such as its inability to access scholarly databases, or we're looking at its weaknesses in terms of giving false references and so on. These were tweaks for the now, but we know that AI will develop much quicker, and that it's a losing battle to try and keep up with these things in this way. So tweaking assessments to ensure some integrity in the short term, but looking towards the longer term, we need to go towards those, what sort of opportunities do we have in the use of AI tools moving forward? And I think we need to think about the long term. Looking at, I know many of you have discussed that AI isn't new, and there are lots of AI, there's AI out there, which is probably a lot more developed and more complex than what we see currently. And I mean, even Google's Lambda, for example, as a sort of a hive AI is more complex than what we're looking at with ChatGPT. So thinking ahead about the kinds of super AIs that can will no doubt be on the horizon. What do we need to do within education to prepare for that, and not to think in the short term, but to think longer term? So AI tools are constantly evolving. So what are some of the upcoming opportunities? So I think maybe just thinking about that question, what does a human offer in an educational environment that a well-designed AI system can't? And I think it was Rakesh who said earlier on, mentioned some of the soft skills that are required. And I asked ChatGPT for the answer to that one. And it's echoing some of the sort of the softer skills that we mentioned earlier on. So the value perhaps of an educator, the opportunity even, or the value in the classroom is being able to work with students as humans together in the classroom, and to develop them alongside working with AI, but to have these sorts of skills present in the classroom with students. I won't go over all of those, but they echo what we said earlier. I wanted to move more onto this slide, and I think one of the upcoming opportunities I see here is in relation to rethinking learning and rethinking assessment, particularly. So for a long time, we've really relied on written assessment as a proxy of student knowledge and learning. So apart from the fact that, you know, these sort of decontextualized general written tasks are very easy to complete using AI, do these assessments actually drive learning that develops knowledge, skills, and aptitudes in the future workforce? So, you know, what do students as future workplace employees and members of society do better than well-designed AI systems? Now, I would say I took this from the World Economic Forum, Defining Education 4.0, and they've got a taxonomy that includes not just cognitive learning outcomes, not just outcomes that focus in on the sort of engagement with knowledge, but also for us to consider other skills, social skills, physical skills. Krathwohl has always discussed Bloom's taxonomy in terms of cognitive, functional, and psychomotor. And we're seeing the same thing here in this taxonomy in cognitive, social, and physical. And when we break those down, we start to see and discuss outcomes that perhaps focus more on creativity, critical thinking, collaboration, communication. But these are outcomes within our learning, not just, you know, the critical analysis or critical evaluation of a case study. We also want to look more at attitudes and the values. So what about developing grit, determination, curiosity? We discussed emotional intelligence as being one of the key skills in the 21st century. And societal. How does this knowledge and these skills and aptitudes relate more broadly with the community, with our civic responsibility, with our connections with those stakeholders that surround our institutions? And not to mention, of course, the disciplinary knowledge that still we need to incorporate. So I would say that looking ahead, in order for us to integrate artificial intelligence into our disciplines, we need to consider, we need to look again at our outcomes. What are we trying to assess in students by the time they finish with us on our courses? And are we setting ourselves up to measure what's important in a world with AI? Okay. There's one more point I think I was going to make. Yes, as I said before, the Dawson quote, that really this is our big question, I think, for 2023 in terms of assessment of in a world with AI. Okay, so just onto a few tools. AI tools, you've discussed in your disciplines and in your industry areas the kinds of tools in project management and so on that will no doubt be really important for you. And I didn't want to go into any of those areas, but just more general AI tools that might be important, and are tools that I've been looking at, and I think are integrate artificial intelligence and are very useful, are things like feedback fruits. I mean, feedback fruits has been around for quite a while, but they integrate artificial intelligence to support educators in delivering AI-backed assessment. So things like supporting even written pieces, the marking of written pieces, having students work together in forums and being able to use AI to support the development of conversation and so on through those forums. There's a suite of tools within Feedback Fruits which I think are worth exploring to support assessment use. Smart Sparrow has been around for quite a long time, but is developing. They've got a new wave, they call it, of adaptive learning. So it looks very, it's moving on quickly in terms of providing students with learning paths. So that sort of adaptive approach is using AI, it's using the data that as you interact with the system, it's able to, of course, analyze the data and to provide you with a more personalized learning pathway. Again, one of the key benefits of machine learning. And then apps like Wobot Health. Wobot Health is a well-being app. It allows students to interact with the app in real time. It's almost like a virtual support. So the students may have issues, may have well-being issues that they want to discuss. They've got no one to talk to, but there is a virtual assistant available on their iPhone that they can speak to. An up-and-coming app that could be potentially incorporated into the learning path, life cycle. And I mean, Gamma, I was looking at over the weekend, and I don't know whether you've heard of a tool called Tome, which produces presentations for you, PowerPoint presentations using AI, but Gamma is even more advanced. I'm not sure whether we've got time to have a quick run through of that, but it's a great tool, like a virtual assistant that works with you to create very nice PowerPoints, which you can then go on, adapt and edit, critique and change. But it's a really great starting point. It might get you 50–60% of the way there in producing a PowerPoint. I was actually thinking this is probably the last PowerPoint that I'm ever going to do on the traditional Microsoft PowerPoint. So just a few AI tools. But what I think is quite interesting is there are a plethora of them. There are hundreds and hundreds of tools integrating AI. And it's been said that we don't really talk about educational technology anymore. We're going to be talking about educational AI. So educational apps integrated with AI, there are like hundreds and hundreds coming out, I think, each day. So keeping up with them is virtually impossible. But I think it's useful for us perhaps to have a sort of a guiding framework to think about how we integrate these tools. So I'm sharing here, Whole on IQ have a digital sort of capability framework in higher education. And it's quite nice because it helps you to think about the learner life cycle. So from over on the left-hand side there, on the red, you've got demand and discovery. So all of the sort of the marketing, student recruitment, enrollment processes that are required. And it's broken down into more granular format. And then moving on to sort of learning design. So the area that I'm probably more engaged with in terms of curriculum designs, teaching strategies, the kind of integration of technology and so on. Then moving on to the learner experience. So things like academic administration, learning and academic experience and support. So Fiona, that would be something where you would be probably more focused in on student life and so on. And then assessment and verification. Moving on again, eventually to alumni and work integrated learning, career planning, enhancement, and so on. So when we look at it, we can look at it more traditionally, pre sort of the AI explosion, and the kind of tools that we might use and integrate in these particular areas, and the kind of capabilities that we need to develop. But now we can think of it with that AI lens as well. So in terms of AI, where do we see these things coming in? So just looking at those tools that I looked at a minute ago, feedback fruits, we could say, well, really helps us around assessment feedback. Smart Sparrow is a learning delivery model, really. It's an adaptive model. And Wobot is around well-being and mental health, would support the student life. So these sorts of tools can be embedded across the learner life cycle and put together to create a more coherent development of use of artificial intelligence. So I thought, just thinking about what AI tools can we integrate into these areas. So demand and discovery, have we got tools that are used for marketing automation and campaigns? Are we using AI in learning design for curriculum mapping, curriculum development? Are we developing aligned and constructively aligned subjects and courses using AI? How do we do that? What tools are there out there which are inevitably going to develop that we can incorporate? In terms of the learner experience, what other tools are there that we can use to help us, for example, generate quality assessment tasks? Assessment tasks that are not just about written reports, but help us to develop assessments that are real world, authentic, and that really measure the performance that we want to measure in a world with AI. So again, the model here just sort of helps us to fit these tools in a little. And I think what we'll probably also find is that institutional platforms, your student management system, I think Meshed, Canvas, learning management systems, will begin to embed AI into their tools as a bigger platform. We'll begin to see that happening already, and also partnering with other AI tools to create more of an ecosystem, an AI ecosystem that comes across some of these life cycle areas. So just to wrap up, I would say I think we do need to rethink and re-engineer our approaches to how students learn and how we assess, and that's going to be key in the next year. I believe that there's still very much a value in our university education and bringing humans together. But there will be other institutions who will begin to work with AI to augment and enhance the whole experience along that learner life cycle, and also improve their productivity. And I think what it's going to be more so is a bit of a race to keep up, and probably most importantly, adapting our educational infrastructure and governance to remain current in this world. I think there's going to be a lot of ideas within the subject, within the disciplines, but we're going to be able to have to sort of manage that as a whole within education as a whole. So that's it from me for now. So thank you very much for listening to that.
Yes, thank you so much, John. That is really interesting, and there's so much to think about. And that idea of mapping out our mapping out against the learner life cycle is a great way to help conceptualize what's possible, but also where it's possible as well. So yes, thank you for that idea. And it leads me nicely into my section. But before I get that, while I get my slides up, I'll just ask if anybody has any questions for John. We're running out of time, but we've got maybe time for one question. Now everyone just realizes there's so much work to do.
How can we ever keep up with what's going at great speed now? As an educator, I'm thinking, oh my goodness, what do I try? How do I try? What do I do next?
Yeah, that's it. I think there'll probably be some things will float to the surface, I think, eventually. But I think things are going to continually move, obviously, very, very rapidly. So we're just going to need to try and keep up.
Given the time, I'll speak very quickly, just a little bit of an update about where we are at ECA Higher Education. So like most, if not all higher education providers. We have been working quickly to assess the significant developments in generative artificial intelligence and its use in learning and teaching. We've been very closely monitoring the guidance from a variety of sources, including TEXA, the Australian Academic Integrity Network, who have produced some excellent guidelines, and lots of other, scholars and experts like UNESCO, somebody mentioned before, Cradle Deakin, Asolite, and various organisations like that. So far, our actions to date is that we have formed an ECA Higher Education Artificial Intelligence Working Group to assess the risks and opportunities of AI and start to lead action in our response. So that's been a great first step, is to get a bunch of people together to really think this through carefully. We have drafted the ECA Higher Education Artificial Intelligence Guidelines, and we haven't circulated them widely yet because they're actually going to our academic board on Friday for feedback and input, and hopefully they will endorse the guidelines. But I will give you a little bit of a rundown of them in just a second. We've also revised our academic integrity policies and procedures for APIC and HELI, just with some mention of AI. And again, that's going to the academic board on Friday. So once that's all kind of been endorsed by them, I can share that a little bit more widely with the rest of the group, because I know everyone's obviously very curious about what's been happening. So our position that we've put in our draft guidelines that are going to the academic board is this: ECA Higher Education's primary concern with AI is to ensure that our students are achieving learning outcomes while maintaining academic integrity. And therefore, our approach is to support students to use AI as a learning tool in an ethical and responsible way. And I know people have mentioned those words already today, so that's good to hear. Our position is that generative artificial intelligence may only be used if it's authorised by the unit coordinator as part of a specified assessment task or activity, and it's used in the way allowed in the assessment instructions and or the unit of study guide or unit outline, and that it's appropriately acknowledged as stated in the assessment instructions. Obviously, this all needs to be teased out a lot. This is just kind of our overall position, and we will end up with definitely more detailed guidelines around this that we will be getting input from everybody. Students are responsible for checking any output from generative AI against reliable sources of information, and understand that they will be accountable for any errors or omissions in material generated by AI. And that's something that's been stated in a lot of the guidance, obviously, that's out there, is that students are ultimately responsible for what they submit, of course. And then if any student does not follow assessment instructions regarding the use of AI, then they may be found to be in breach of academic integrity policy. So, for example, the unauthorised use of AI tools or using output from AI without appropriate acknowledgement may be a form of cheating and constitute academic misconduct. And again, we will have more detailed guidelines around this. That will cascade from these guidelines once they're approved. Our planned actions are as follows. So we will obviously, once all this is approved by the academic board, we will need to send a communication to students, and somebody mentioned as well, a very clear communication to students about the use of generative AI in coursework and assessments. We'll also need to systematically review and modify assessments to take into account use of AI, and have a look and assess potential risks to academic integrity as well. We'll be revising the academic integrity module to include some information about use of AI tools, obviously in line with our policy and guidelines, and some other artificial intelligence literacy resources and training for students as well. And we'll continue to keep training and guiding staff, because it's all a bit new for most of us, I would imagine. So we need to make sure that we're all keeping up to date with how to proceed with all of this. So we'll regularly provide training and guidance and make sure that we're really thinking this through very carefully. But that's a very, very quick overview and a very quick summary of where we're at now. And as I said, we will keep updating everybody and provide more information and actually send the guidelines around very, very shortly. But I'll stop sharing there. If anybody has any questions, or Ian, if you wanted to perhaps add anything at this stage, I can hand over to you.
I have a question here, Michelle.
Sure.
As AI and academic integrity, they share the same wording, all
I
of them as
know.
AI. My question regarding the academic integrity, actually, and using AI, artificial intelligence. The now the generation of the AIs look like the same as generation when we first have internet, and then the students can use the internet to get information and use it in their assignments. This is a bit ambiguity or not clear how the student going to use AI in their assignment to help the quality of the report or the work they going to do. Is that going to be considered in some cases as academic integrity, or gonna like if a student, for example, use Grammarly to enhance their English writing of their assignments? Is that be considered as academic integrity or not? If they're going to use Chat GPT, is that be for their assignment? Is that going to be considered as academic integrity, or part of the learning for the students is research and develop, and when they do their project, and using AI, the artificial intelligence can help they're doing their jobs.
That's
so
right.
is that my question is it really hard sometimes to identify is a part of what the work the students produce is being academic and have academic integrity or have similarity or copied. How we be able to really identify this work of the students?
Yeah, I know what you mean, and I had a bit of a chat with I think it was Fiona about this, because obviously something like Chat GPT could be used in different ways. It could be used for brainstorming and just generating some ideas that you then go and research and write about yourself. It could be used, just like you were saying, kind of like Grammarly, to proofread and provide feedback perhaps on the language used and that sort of thing. So I think what we will have to do, and what we'd probably move towards, is in the assessment instructions, basically clarifying exactly what it can be used for this particular assessment and what it can't be used for. And then we do have to consider things like the Turnitin detection tool, whether we do want to be using that and relying on that or not so much. We've got a meeting to discuss that on Thursday, actually, about how to proceed with that. So it's really tricky, and that's where we'll have to kind of really tease this out. Obviously, we're nowhere near that stage yet with these very simple guidelines, but hopefully they provide us a framework where those kind of things can cascade from that, and we really clarify and tighten up what we mean by those kind of things. And we use the guidance that is being published by TEXA and all these other institutions that have done some of this thinking already. So I hope that answers your question. But yes, we will have to tease it out. You're right. You're absolutely right.
Michelle, you can hand over to me for a quick wrap up.
Wrap it up. We've got 4 minutes.
Yeah. Well, absolutely fabulous forum this morning. Thanks for bringing it together, Michelle. You touched on so many areas about what we might call artificial intelligence, and I think several of the presenters have made the point that it's not new. Like all of a sudden we've had Chat GPT 4, and so on, which is around us. But the idea of artificial intelligence, computers having the capability to do things which in many cases are quite boring and repetitive, has been around for a long time. I think if we go back to Rakesh's slide, it's probably about 80 years. I can remember just over 20 years ago, I was head of the Western Australian Telehealth Project, where we were looking at the potential of technology to gather information remote places and send it to the central, mainly medical imaging, because medical imaging has been doing this for a long time. And I also did a project with the Fiji School of Medicine more than 20 years ago, when they were looking at how can we connect to other parts of the world to help us look at solving health problems in Fiji or in the Pacific. So men and women have been thinking about this for quite some time. So it was really refreshing to look at all the different presentations and think about how it may be. I think my health background, I'm starting to think, as a young boy who watched, I think his name was Dr. Leonard McCoy from Star Trek, with his triponder. I mean, how far away are we from that, Mohammed, where there'll be a device which will be able to detect what are the issues that need to be solved and how to fix people's problems? But it's a fascinating presentation from my point of view, and a presentation that I've used quite a lot in different different digital health things about health, but I'm trying to apply that to other disciplines. And the question that was presented to one of my favorite presenters of YouTube and written articles is the medical futurist. And one of his videos was, can AI replace doctors? And he said, there are 5 things that's difficult to do. And can you replace doctor with this, maybe educators as well? Empathy can't be necessarily replaced by a computer. Physicians have a more of a non-linear approach to solving problems. Complex digital technologies need very skilled staff to use them. I guess I'm putting teacher rather than just a health professional. There are always going to be some, what do you call, tasks that algorithms or robots can't necessarily solve. If you look at some of his presentations, you want to know what some of those are. And the most important thing, I guess, in the presentations, he often says, it's not about technology versus humans. It's about how can we use the tools to improve in all of our disciplines, including in education. In health, for decades, it's been the term augmented intelligence has been used, and it's the sense of that you can use computers or technology to do many of the things which you can then present to a clinician who can say, yeah, that needs to be looked at, or that could be a risk, like screening millions and millions of breast cancer screens in terms of what might be the high risk. So it's about working together rather than computers versus us. So fascinating presentation to expand across all areas. And one thing I think that one of the presenters made, which I think is really important, and that is, how can we get to cross-discipline collaboration within ECA higher ed? Because there's people in computer science, and there's people in the HALI, and there's people in health science who are really interested in different aspects of AI. Wouldn't it be great if we could work out how to work together to look at some fascinating issues about either our discipline or education? Fascinating presentation from my point of view. Thank you, Michelle, for organising it, and for everybody for joining in. I hope you've all enjoyed the last couple of hours that we've had together.
Yep, thank you. I'll post the everyone's slides and the recording on the Learning and Teaching Community of Practice as well, if you wanted to go back and have a look at anything later. So thank you. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it.